Sometimes starting a business can have its own traumatic situations, and becoming an entrepreneur is very scary, but we all know it's rewarding, and it's great to have the advice of people who have done it and succeeded. I am so happy to have Bridgette Bello here with me today. She is the CEO and publisher of TBBW magazine. She is going to share how she has started and grown this amazing magazine and business to be very well known in the Tampa Bay area, but she's also had some of her own traumatic experiences herself. So why don't you go ahead and share about TBBW, what you do, and how you got into this business?
Sure, happy to. Thanks for having me on the show, Dana. It was very kind of you to reach out and ask me to be a part of this. So thank you for that.
Of course.
TBBW is a print, digital, and event media company. We do, we think, a really good job of all three of those things, and they're all equally important to the business. We're a CEO-only publication, so the magazine is mailed to 15,000 business owners, partners, founders, presidents, and CEOs every month. We also do monthly events with CEOs only, invite only, that are very exclusive rooms and a great place to be, and a couple of signature events in addition to that, and a twice a week newsletter, unless we have some breaking news, which we often do, and we try to be very respectful of the number of times that we're emailing the people who have trusted us with their email address. So that's the quickest way I can describe what Tampa Bay Business and Wealth is.
It's very well known in the area, and I know a lot of the women that have been blessed to be a part of your award ceremonies. It's a great place.
Thank you. And it's a great team. It's not just me. There's a team of us that make this stuff happen every day.
That's she has a great team. So how did you end up in the world of publication and magazines?
Journalism is what I have wanted to do since I was a little girl. My mom loves to tell the story that she had a client that owned a gutter business, and I wrote a TV commercial for them when I was 6 years old.
Wow.
That they actually used. And then went on to get my journalism degree, work in daily newspapers, spent 10 years in radio. First couple of years were online or on air. Sorry, not online. There wasn't an online thing back then. On the air, and then ended up going through the business side of things. Leaving radio was a little bit of a traumatic experience, and because it was the only thing I had ever done, and when I left, I had a 6-month non-compete, which meant that I couldn't do the only thing that I had ever done anymore. And there was a gentleman from a local business publication that ended up being my mentor that reached out to me and said, come run my advertising department. And I thought to myself, well, I'll do that while I set out my 6-month non-compete until I go back to radio. And that turned into a 20-year career. Oh. So grew up in that company, had an amazing experience. And 6 years ago, decided that I wanted to do things a different way. And there were 3 of us actually who really believed that we could do an amazing job of serving the C-suite and keeping those rooms exclusive and the content exclusive, and really hyper over delivering for the CEOs and business owners and what they needed to grow their professional careers, to grow their businesses, to help their workforce do all those same things. And so we decided to launch Tampa Bay Business and Wealth in May of 2018.
Ever since then, it's been doing so well. So can you explain some of the hiccups, some of the hard times that you had starting a business? Because as we all know, starting a business can have its moments where it's not so easy. Although it's worth it, it can be difficult. So do you have any stories or anything that you have?
Oh, we have lots of stories. Boy, do we have stories.
Sticks out, I would say.
I think the funniest moment was within our first 45 days of, at the time, the 3 of us sitting at my kitchen island, which is where we worked every morning. We got there at 9 o'clock and had our coffee and sat in the kitchen island while my house was still under construction, actually. And we all looked at each other and said, has anybody ever worked at a magazine before? None of us had. We were like, okay, but we could do this, right? We can do this. So that's one of my favorite stories. We also did an amazing job because of the support that we received from this community, of our first issue being really robust and thick and fat and full of advertising. And before that issue was even on the streets, we had to start selling the next issue, and we had not thought of that. And so we had no magazine to show anyone. nothing to say, the money you already gave us really did go into a magazine, and can you do it again? So that was a real learning moment. We had a partner in the beginning that we believed was our friend, and he had been my friend for 20 plus years. Really took advantage of us. We didn't read our contracts, and we didn't understand what we were signing up for from a partnership perspective. And he ended up selling us out from underneath ourselves without us even knowing it, and us not benefiting at all from that. So there's been lots of trauma and lots of lessons learned. And I think the biggest one is always get things in writing. I've gotten kind of punched in the face by that one a couple of times over the past few years.
Yeah, I think it's very important, something you said, because I think a lot of people think about trauma within like a romantic relationship, but sometimes some of your closest friends and allies can be the ones that really hurt you in business. It's very sad. I've seen it often where people get into business deals and they really believe they know the person, and then they see this ugly side because money can do that to a person. And so I think it is very important to know, like, to know know who you're dealing with, to know what you're signing. And that's something that I think early on a lot of business owners probably aren't as familiar with. So I'm happy that you mentioned that.
And get a good attorney.
Yeah. People that know what they're doing. Yeah. So with all your success, is there a moment that you feel like I know I made this, like this is my moment, that it was an aha moment where you've arrived, so to speak, or where you really have seen the impact that you're making in the Tampa Bay area and beyond?
There's many of those. I have been blessed with some amazing experiences with women in this community and things that they've said to me. I just recently had one tell me, and I'm going to talk about this from the stage at our Women Who Win Awards on April 19th, that she wasn't submitting her packet because she spoke to her superior and her superior told her that if she submitted her packet and I ever needed her, she wouldn't be able to work with me. And so she very selflessly gave up what would have been a tremendous amount of recognition and brand building and career building potentially, because she wanted to still be able to help me if I ever needed her someday. So that was a really important moment for me. In 2021, we got nominated for Small Business of the Year with the Tampa Bay Chamber. It was a tremendous amount of work. It might be one of the only times my partner has yelled at me, but he was like, "We're never doing this again," because there was so much work that went into it. But I'm on the other side of it now and tell people the work is worth it.
Yeah.
Standing there that night in a room full of, I think it was 700 or 800 other business owners, and being named Small Business of the Year in the startup category from the Tampa Bay Chamber was a huge validation of everything that we had been doing. We were only 3 or 4 years old at that point, 21, whatever, if you do the math. But the work is worth it.
Yeah.
It is a lot of work. But that was really kind of a moment of, we did good.
I love to promote businesses, especially when they're owned by women, because it just sounds like this is a woman CEO owned business. It just sounds like so empowering to women. And so as a woman CEO, did you face any challenges that were different than maybe a man would face?
We could do a whole show on that, Dana. It might be biting more than you could chew in this conversation.
We'll keep it nice and PG.
Yeah, no, there's always challenges. The reason we still do the Women Who Win Awards is because we still need not only to be respected by the other sex, but by each other, right? Yeah. And that story I just told of the woman who gave up her own celebrity status potentially because she wanted to help me is how I think we should all be.
Yeah.
And my mantra is stolen, of course, from Margaret Thatcher, but has always been there's a special place in hell for women who don't help other women. And I believe that, and I live that every day, and I do everything I can to help other women. So yes, we have our own unique challenges for sure.
Mentioning the Women Who Win Awards, I think this is something special that we should talk about too, because she actively helps women in the community to be acknowledged and given the recognition that they deserve, not only for what they do as a business, but even what they do philanthropically. So can you share a little bit about your awards?
I would be happy to. It is my favorite time of year. It is my favorite process. This is only our second year. Our first year was in 23. We had well, I can tell you exactly, actually. We had 504 people in attendance. We were given the ability to grow that to 588 this year. So
Hey, it's
not
growth.
that we're talking specific numbers or anything. But, it's been referred to as the Grammys of Tampa Bay.
That's awesome.
We put our heart and souls into making those ladies feel special. But we also, it's not just that evening, that one event. We also have 3 events leading up to it. Philanthropy is also something that I think is extremely important. I don't believe we can be a good community without being a good community, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we have an aspect not only to our women's awards, but all of the awards programs that we do, where we partner with a nonprofit. And so, for instance, with Women Who Win, a couple of weeks prior to the award ceremony, we have Hammers and Heels, and we are building a house for Habitat for Humanity.
That's amazing.
As a community, as this class of the 2024 Women Who Win. We built school readiness kits with United Way Suncoast last year with our Apogee Awards. And this year we're going to do cooking with kids for Big Brothers Big Sisters,
I love that.
tied to our Philanthropist of the Year Awards. So it's that event, it's a finalist reception, it's video shoot days where we're all in the studio together, and then leading up to the culmination of the awards event that night.
That's
So
incredible.
it's a wonderful time of year.
So if you had a word of advice, anything that you could share with somebody that is starting in business, whether they are coming from the corporate world and then starting their own, or they're like fresh out of it, fresh out of college, or just really starting from scratch, what advice would you give to somebody that wants to be successful in business, that will have the hiccups that we talked about, how they can overcome that and continue on to be just like you?
Never give up.
Yeah.
I mean, we work and we have worked for the whole 6 years, 24/7, all of us. And there's clients that have taken us 2 and 3 years to finally be able to call our clients. Award ceremonies that we've waited 5 years to launch. It's about tenacity. It's about passion. It's about working hard.
Yeah.
As much as that's not the PC thing to say, right? Work-life balance is so important these days and all those things, but you got to work your ass off.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the best piece of advice I could give is don't do it if you're not willing to really put your heart and soul into it.
Yeah, I agree. Words few, but said very eloquently. So
Thank you.
So you can check out TBBW magazine at tbbwmag.com, where they have digital versions of the printed magazine, but they also come and
show the one with the woman.
But you can also pick up a printed version as well. This is such a beautiful magazine with lots of advertising. Wink, wink. If you're interested in that, you can find Bridgette. We're going to tag all her stuff on here. So thank you, Bridgette. I love what you're doing for the community. I absolutely love your magazine, and I can't wait to see what the next few years hold for you. So thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity, Dana.